Hey everybody, this is Brandon Mason with Eastmans, and this video review is going to feature an inside look, behind the curtain sneak peek at Mystery Ranch's hunting backpack lineup and their load carriage system. But before we dive in and chat with our friends at Mystery Ranch, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. We'll let you know every time we drop a new gear review. Well, we're here today with a couple of the crew from Mystery Ranch. We have Alex, if you want to wave to the camera so everybody knows who you are, and so Alex Rich and Sam Soholt. And Alex is actually a staffer there, and Sam's one of the brand ambassadors and has been working with Mystery Ranch for, I don't even know how many years. I know it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think 7 years at this point. I think got my first Mystery Ranch pack in 2014.
Yeah, nice. I remember the first time you and I hunted together, that's what you were sporting, the Metcalf, which is still obviously a popular one. So no, there's some exciting times at Mystery Ranch. Obviously a big year for Mystery Ranch, being the 20th anniversary. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, was it last year technically the 20th, or is it this year, 2021, that's the 20th?
I believe it was last year. It's just kind of, things got a little mixed up with COVID and everything. Yeah, so we've been, making packs for over 20 years now.
Yeah, over 20 years as Mystery Ranch, and then, there's a lot of people that know, but a lot of people that don't know the story of, Dana and Renee, and Dana Gleason, of course, is famous in the pack industry and has been designing packs for decades. Tell us a little bit, just real quick, to give people an overview of where Dana came from before Mystery Ranch and then what Mystery Ranch has turned into. I mean, you guys hit not just the hunting world and the outdoor world, wildland firefighter packs, military packs, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a big story to tell there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, Dana's been building packs for a heck of a long time. And as the story goes, I'll do my best to kind of paraphrase his long-winded story here. But, he started out actually fixing gear. Kind of how he got to start making packs is he, kept seeing the same issues come through the shop that he was working at. And he, kind of made the decision that he could build packs better than anything that was out there. And that kind of gave birth to his first company. Through the years, he has had a couple other companies, including Clutterworks, a company called Mojo Systems, which primarily built like camera equipment. Eventually evolved into Dana Designs, and then he kind of got out of the game a little bit there for a while. There was actually some folks in the special operations community that were kind of hassling him about getting back into making packs, and Mystery Ranch kind of started out, really catering to that need. Building packs for that special operations community. Kind of as things, grew and got more and more momentum, just translated really nice into everything that we're doing now, which includes still that, military gear. We also do wildland firefighting stuff. We do hunting, obviously. We do outdoor. We do some everyday carry pieces. So, we're kind of in a space now where if you carry gear, we're going to make a pack for it.
Yeah, cool. And that's one of the things we wanted to do today is, usually when we're at the trade shows or the sports shows every year, we do Facebook Lives and special interviews. Well, of course, this year, all those were canceled. And so this is a way to give everybody that maybe doesn't do what we all do for a living, a peek behind the curtain, a sneak peek at what the organization is like and what the brand is like. And a few years ago, you guys redesigned some of your hunting packs and that whole load carriage system that you guys have kind of trademarked, and it's really interesting, and it allows for custom fitting a pack to an individual's torso, and it really kind of changed the game for you guys, as far as what you brought to the table. And in fact, I think when Sam and I were on that first hunt years ago that I mentioned briefly earlier, he was using the Metcalf, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was the old frame system, correct?
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
I don't think the new frame system had been invented yet. So Sam especially has seen that evolution of how that frame system and just a company thought process, even in just the last few years, has really evolved and changed.
Yeah, it's actually been like kind of an interesting story. How hunting came about for Mystery Ranch is like kind of really organic, and a lot of it has to do with the people that work here. And that kind of tailors into like what kind of community that we have. So we were speaking a little bit about how, we're building packs for the special operations community. They had specific needs for the gear and missions that they were carrying out. And a lot of the folks that, were kind of working in-house here thought like, hey, like that pack would actually work perfect for carrying out elk quarters. So we were actually using military style packs, in the woods carrying out elk quarters, just because necessity required that, and that kind of started the ball rolling and like, okay, well, if we can get enough momentum behind this, like, why don't we actually do a hunting specific pack? And then one pack turned into two, which, eventually turned into, kind of the product offering that you see now. That's, a number of packs, accessories, we lighten them up, it's very specific to hunting. So, yeah, it's been really cool to be a part of that process and really watch kind of the evolution of where we were, why things happened the way they did, and then, kind of where we're at and where we're going.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. And one of the things that I think about a lot when I hear Mystery Ranch, the brand name, I remember an ad that you guys were running a number of years ago, and it said, wearing a heavy backpack sucks. Our job is to make it suck less. There's no way around it when you're carrying a lot of weight on your back. It's not fun. It's not fun on your lower extremities, or on your torso. But if you're wearing a pack that's properly fit and adjusted to your body, that can be a game changer. So you still got to carry the heavy weight, but it's a little more enjoyable when you're doing it with the piece of equipment that fits you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a rite of passage too. As a hunter, like, you have to have some of those pack outs that are just grueling, to really understand like why it's important to have a good fitting pack and, why we do what we do instead of, just grabbing your old JanSport and throwing some meat in it and calling it a day.
It's a game changer. You don't know the difference until you've been through the pain and then experience what a good one's supposed to feel like.
For me personally, my very first trip out west, I had done exactly that and bought a cheap backpack and was hauling camera gear around and way too much stuff. And I actually still have scars on my hips where it rubbed the skin off so bad and blistered so bad that I now have scars from that initial just terrible backpack. I was certainly attracted to the Mystery Ranch brand early on because I was spending so many days in the field and constantly carrying more gear than I should on the photography side and video side, that it was nice to have something that hauled the load so I wasn't worn out at the end of every single day.
You're saying you know what a good backpack is. There's a lot of weight behind that statement because you've been more places and in more crazy places than I think even most of us in the hunting industry can ever think about going because of the opportunities with what you do. So yeah, that's a testament right there.
Yeah, I wish I probably should have kept a log like of how many miles I have carried a Mystery Ranch backpack of one sort or another like over the years, but thousands and thousands of miles have just been, walking around wearing one. So yeah, definitely have the time in behind it.
So let's get into the whole load carriage terminology and for those that maybe haven't seen, what this frame system, load lifter system, the whole Mystery Ranch system that you guys really focus on now, especially in the hunting line, walk us through kind of the mindset as to how it got there a little bit and then mostly what it is.
When Dana was originally designing some packs for the military, all the military guys are carrying the old, aluminum Alice frames that you remember from the Vietnam era. One of the reasons that he, decided to build that new frame is that thing was uncomfortable. Oftentimes guys were carrying it so high on their back that they were hunched over. Especially under the loads that, they're carrying in Iraq and Afghanistan. What better, purpose could we serve than to try to help them carry things a little bit more ergonomically? And actually, that's kind of where the name of the NICE frame, which is the predecessor to the Guide Lite series, came from. Is his daughter's name is Alice, and he thought it was kind of nasty that this old janky frame that these guys are carrying around were called the Alice packs. So he's like, well, I'm going to call mine the NICE Alice. So that's kind of where the nomenclature came from, is calling it the NICE frame. That kind of led into our whole philosophy on how we carry gear and why we carry it the way we do. If you'll notice, most frames, including ours, this is our NICE Guide Lite MT frame, but most frames you'll see are flat, right? And this is true pretty much across the board as far as, hunting frames, outdoor backpacks, everything. And as we know, being human beings, our backs aren't flat. So the real challenge is how do you get, a flat surface like this to really link up with the human skeleton And that's kind of where like the philosophy and like our thoughts on load carriage really come in, is like, okay, we have this really nice platform, but how do we follow those curves of like the human spine?
Well, that's a good point too, because I had a little light bulb moment a few years ago. Even in our office, we've got a lot of guys that are pretty hardcore backpack hunters, and we test all different brands, all different models of packs and everything. And it's funny how we each get our own opinion as to what is the most comfortable or carries the load best for our body type. And we don't seem like we have that different of body types really, but I went to borrow one of my co-worker's vehicle, Scott Reeker's, and I couldn't believe the lumbar setting he had in his driver's seat that was so ungodly uncomfortable for me. And him and I usually like opposite styles of packs. And that's what you just said is exactly that. I mean, everybody, it may not look like you're built drastically different, but we are.
A lot of other companies are trying to solve, that problem of going from a straight frame to one that matches the curvature of your body. And they do that with bent stays. But to your point of like the lumbar curve, that's not the same person to person. That changes. So what we kind of decided to do that's a little bit different than a lot of folks is we try to do that through different framing elements. And one of the main ways that we do that is with this adjuster that actually hides in the back of the yoke here. And the cool thing about this is it actually matches the curve of your shoulders, if you can see that. And in that telescoping yoke, this curve travels up or down, so it matches whatever torso length you have or whatever comfort profile you're trying to fit. So we're not trying to dictate the exact shape of people's body, we're trying to work with it.
Sure.
So that's one of the most important pieces that follows all throughout, not just our frame packs, but all of our backpacks really. So if we stick that tool back behind the yoke here, we can actually lengthen that to fit somebody that's extremely tall, or we can shorten it down, to fit somebody with a really short torso.
Explain to the viewers and listeners what you were just doing there, because we couldn't see it on the camera.
So if you look back here, you can see that there's some loop Velcro that sits inside the frame, and we'll take that same shaping tool that matches your shoulders, and you can come back and break the Velcro, and that's what helps let you adjust that torso length taller and shorter.
And then once you get it to the height that you need it to, you just simply press that hook and loop closure or the Velcro back together, correct? And it's secure and stays in place.
Yeah, and one of the other really nice features about that is if you load your pack up and you've got a buddy, you can actually make those adjustments on the fly. So you can have your pack on, have your buddy break that hook and loop, and then get like that really custom feeling fit, and then just smash everything back together and carry on the trail. So
nice, yeah.
Really nice that you don't have to tear the thing apart, take all the pieces apart and then reassemble it. So if you're on the trail and you feel a little uncomfortable, you can just go through and just modify it right there.
Yeah, that's handy. Yeah, I didn't think that you could actually do it when it was on you, but that's a good little tip.
Then I think the other thing that has helped me out in the past is if I'm hunting with a buddy who maybe didn't have one, or I loan somebody a pack on a trip, it has the different indicators of where it matches on your torso. So you can see them here. Right. So where it fits on your body, and you can make a mark on there and just make a mental note of it. And so when I would loan it to somebody, I could fit it to them, and then when it was going back on my body, I can just quick go back to where I was and make sure it's going to fit for me. So
yeah, that is nice, because there's nothing worse than getting something pretty much custom fit to, especially something that we use so much. What else can you tell us about? I know that Mystery Ranch has that system that is fairly new within the last few years. And then there's also the pop-up system. That's something that was pretty innovative.
There's kind of a cool story that follows the pop-up frame. Since we do a lot of work with wildland firefighters, they tend to spend a lot of time, digging line, bent over. So they like to carry their weight a little bit lower on their bodies. And one of the things that I was noticing when I was doing a bunch of archery antelope hunting is how often you're pressed low to the ground trying to hide behind, whatever boot print you can find. And having a tall frame system that keeps hitting you in the back of the head when you're trying to prone out, it kind of made sense to, start carrying gear a little bit more like those firefighters do. But then you're kind of left at a disadvantage of not having that taller load lifter height, if you do have a successful day and you're trying to pack that animal out. So that's kind of where like the thought process came in, is like, well, let's take, the same frame shape, which this is actually the same frame shape that some of those firefighters use, but then we can actually incorporate telescoping poles here that let you adjust that load lifter height. This is what we call the load lifter. We can actually adjust that load lifter height to help you carry your load out a little bit more ergonomically.
And that's another thing too that I think is nice for if you're sharing packs with a friend, or even like I have 4 kids and they're all obviously growing constantly, and I take my kids in the backcountry, and it's just amazing from trip to trip, year to year, how much they change. And something like that is also nice for somebody who's going through, those growth spurts. Not that it's made for kids, but you can use it for people who are growing and their bodies are changing too.
And the other thing that we found too is like a lot of our taller users like this pack too, because it can telescope so tall.
Just curious, what are your guys out of some of the most recent designs, the packs the bags that work with the frame system that you guys have? What are your personal favorites? I know it's kind of case dependent upon the trip, but they work, that all of those different bags work with the same frame, and so you can interchange those if you need to.
Early on in my career, I did a lot of backcountry stuff and have started to do more day trips simply because of the vehicle choice that I've been driving. I really used the Guide Lite frame a lot those few seasons when I was in the bus, and I would use more of a day pack style, so I could have all the camera gear that I needed still, but then if I did knock something down, I had the ability to haul it back. Now, going into this coming season, I actually just got the pop-up bag, and I'm super excited to use it for whitetail season, because a lot of the places, I do hanging hunts pretty much every single day, and so I'm super excited about that because it gives me the ability to have a small bag with all of just the essentials for whitetail season, but be able to hike in 1.5 miles, 2 miles, however far it is to where I'm going to be hunting. And if I do shoot a deer, I can quarter it out, throw it on the pack, and hike it out, and still have that capability. So yeah, that's kind of been, obviously it's all case dependent. I've everything from day packs on the Guide Lite frame to using some of the bigger packs on a mule deer trip. I was solo mule deer trip 2 years ago. It was 0 degrees and blowing 30 miles an hour, so I had all of my cold weather gear. And it's a 6-mile walk in to where I start hunting, and I shot a deer that morning, and then I hauled the entire deer out. So I had that Beartooth 80 pack, and was able to expand it enough to then it had warmed up a little bit. So I jammed all my super puffy clothing in there, but still was able to use that overload system and strap the deer in there. And it took me a long time to hike those 6 miles out because my pack was about 120 pounds ish at that point. So, but yeah, it's been all over the board.
Wow, that's cool. How about you, Alex?
Hunting in Montana where, we could be hunting archery antelope, in 90, 100 degree weather. And then, by the tail end of rifle, it could be well below 0. So as far as my pack choice, it generally ranges quite a bit. Typically used most often and tell most people that it's like the most versatile pack. It's either the Metcalf or the Beartooth. It's big enough for those extended, like up to week-long hunts, but they compress down to the frame so well that if you just needed a day hunt out of it, it's no big deal. So
yeah, that Metcalf has really survived the test of time, hasn't it? It's been around for a long time, and it's cool that you guys were able to keep some of those designs and the names of the pack bags that were on the old frame systems onto the new framing system, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then of course you've expanded that line tremendously too. Years ago we had toured the Mystery Ranch office and plant when we were in the area. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't work there, but the impression I got was it's very people oriented that way. You guys got a pretty big crew, and it seems like a pretty tight-knit crew. And I'm talking about people, all facets, from people sewing on the floor, people shipping, people doing, if there's any repair work that needs to be done, design work, marketing. It seems to be all hands on deck.
Oh yeah, definitely. As of now, we have over 80 employees here, and it takes a village really to, especially working in so many different markets like we do, to make sure that everything's taken care of from the production to, you know, like you said, marketing, design, sales, everything, even down to finance. But I think one of the through lines, you know, that kind of draws us all together is that like that love of the outdoors. And, you know, as you're touching on too, like kind of just needing people, other people that, like, you know, kind of thirst for the same endeavors that, you know, that we like to do in our free time. You know, so not everybody here hunts, but everybody here just about like has just an exceeding passion for the outdoors, you know, and especially once the snow melts, you know, everybody's got a backpack on their back and they're beating the hills up. So
it's that old adage of, you know, iron sharpens iron. And when you got like-minded people that are passionate about a common goal, great things happen. Is there anything else you guys wanted to let people know about? I mean, anything new, you know, teasers on any new things that are coming out? I'm sure a lot of that's hush hush until it's actually unveiled, but.
Oh, well, we've always got something baking in the oven. You know, I can't touch too much on, you know, what we're working on for the future. But, you know, it's always refine. Going from that, you know, really heavy, almost 8-pound NICE Frame system, paring it down to something that's just over 3 pounds. I feel like every iteration we get closer and closer to what we'd like to think of as the perfect pack. You know, maybe someday we'll get there. It's really tough not to just, you know, let the cat out of the bag and share all the interesting stuff that we've got going on in design. But stand by, we'll show you some cool stuff in the future.
Yeah, sounds good. We're looking forward to it. Well, we, you know, just really appreciate you guys taking the time, you know, to come together. And
always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more gear reviews and hunting videos coming soon.